Hey there, and welcome to a special PsychoStudios podcast, where today we are reviewing a movie and have a special guest with us. And how about you tell us who that is, Dad?
Sure, be happy to. Our special guest today is Chris Shelby. And Chris and I go way back. We worked together for many years and have kept in touch since we left I won't even say what we left. It was work. We'll leave it at that. So, Chris, you want to tell the audience where you are and anything else you want to share about how you know Michael and I?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've known this band of Misfits for the time I spent in Arizona, where I was a singing telegram entrepreneur, among many things. And I currently am in Naples, Florida. Not sure what I'm doing here, but I think I'm on a people watching safari at the moment. I do hail from middle of nowhere, Iowa. That's the place where they grow corn, not potatoes. Yeah, I'm really excited to be part of the Psycho Studios today, and looking forward to reviewing the movie. So
Excellent. Cool. Well, I guess we'll have to say what we're reviewing, huh?
Yes, let's keep the audience in. Hey, nice.
So, okay.
Oh, very nice.
So, just to get the feel of what we're gonna be, reviewing today, we're gonna be reviewing Barbarian, and that came out when, Dad?
That would be 2022. R-rated feature coming in at around 102 minutes.
That's correct. And so I would like our guest of honor, I should say, let us know what he scores it on the psycho scale.
Nice.
Well, I'm going to give Barbarian a solid 6 for its creepy factor, surprise moments, and how they did a low budget film, which they did the takes in a way that I really enjoyed low budget films. I mean, it's kind of like Silent Hill meets Paranormal Activity, and Pumpkinhead had a baby with a little bit of a I See Dead People vibe and a Crypt Keeper story all put together. It was well done. It was well done. And again, for me, it was solid as far as I'd watch it again. It was a pretty good movie.
Well, good. Well, I guess I can't wait to hear what my dad has to say for a score then.
Yeah, the score, and I've watched this film several times. I watched it recently so I could really be up to speed for this podcast. And I'm not sure. I think I'm teetering around a 7.5. A solid one at that.
A solid one.
Yeah, I mean, it's great cinematography, great dialogue, great cast, and just... like a lot of movies for me, it tends to peter at some spots, but a 7.5 is where I'm coming in at. How about you?
Well, I guess I'll round it out by saying that I'm going to give it an 8.
Nice.
And I had myself just recently watched it, and man, I've seen some really cruddy movies lately, and I got to say this, just the cinematography alone, I think that's what stands out the most to me about this movie. I mean, it's almost like another character. Right. I think it's just, and the music could be better. I think that's why I knocked it down, because there is some good score in there, but it doesn't come in really at all during the movie, which is disappointing to me. But overall, the dark themes and the twists, I think, definitely keep it up to being a higher score for me, at least.
Well, and that baby video that was in it, solid.
Yes.
I was wondering if Chris was going to mention that. When that came on again last night when I was watching, I'm like, that's a Chris moment. But definitely, I hear what you're saying about the music. It is interesting you say that. And Chris talks about low budget, and technically it was, right? $4.5 million was the budget. Box office coming in at $44.5 million. And what's interesting is 98% of that box office came from the United States and Canada. It doesn't have any legs or reach outside of those two countries, which is unusual for that kind of movie.
I didn't look it up. Did it have a wide release everywhere?
So it did, but it was a very spotty wide release, meaning that wide release didn't happen all at once. So I don't know if it even is classified as such. It talked about how it was more of a North American release, and then it started to trickle out. But by that time, it seemed like it was already available from video on demand. So we know how that would
Yeah.
cut into that box office.
I was gonna say I didn't even know about it until it was on streaming, and the biggest part about that I can take away from the movie is why'd they call it Barbarian?
I mean, yeah, I guess that's so true.
Well, and I think that's kind of left open for interpretation. I think, we'd have to probably ask the director to see what they were thinking. And it's funny, again, that Chris said that, because that's exactly what floated around in my head last night. Why is it called Barbarian? Is it Frank, right? The guy who kind of started all of it?
Right.
Or is it the creature? Or is it even one of the main characters and the way that he handles his personal life? So, there's a lot of interpretations, right? So I think it was left open intentionally, but I don't want to speak for the director.
Hey, real quick, Dad. I think you're putting like the paper stuff over the mic.
Oh, sorry. Don't mean to.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So and one thing I'd like to do at the beginning of these moving forward is just quickly give the main cast. So then as you're working your way through the film like we do, at least we have that established. So the main cast would be Bill Skarsgård. Hopefully I'm saying that right. He plays Keith.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Justin Long, who plays AJ, and Georgina Campbell as Tess. And then I would be remiss if I didn't mention Richard Brake, who plays Frank, that retro piece that we come to know and love. So those are the main characters.
And let's step back just a little bit and talk about who directed it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the interesting thing, right? Because we have a little bit of background from that. His name is Zach Krager, if I'm saying it right.
I think so.
He wrote and directed it. And what show was he famous from?
Yeah, me growing up watching all the skits on YouTube, Wise Kids Who Know.
Right, so he comes from that comedy troupe, and weren't they based out of Canada, or am I mixing them up with some other troupe?
No, I don't believe so.
No? So yeah, it's interesting because that was obviously, yes, there was acting within that, but it was very just heavy comedy. And
dark comedy though.
Sure.
Dark, yeah, definitely dark.
Yeah, even with that title. So yeah, that was interesting. Zach Krager wrote and directed it, and looks like he's looking at doing something semi-related in the near future.
Yep. And I just think it's cool. I think it feels like first-time directors definitely. It seems like horror movies are definitely the right step in direction, and it's cool. He's in it a couple times. You just see the back of him, and then he does like on the phone when Justin Long is on the phone later in the movie. He's also on the phone giving feedback.
Was that his agent?
I believe
so.
Yeah,
this was the agent that was good.
Like when he's getting into the rental car?
Mm-hmm.
And also the other person on the phone is his wife in real life as well.
You nailed that when you stole that one from me. Kate Bosworth. Yes, Kate Bosworth does a voice cameo, and well played, because technically she wasn't his wife at the time, but they did get married in 23.
Right. Well, anyways, let's just jump to the beginning of the movie. I don't think my dad's experienced Airbnbs, but I've definitely been in several, I say, by now. So I don't know about you, Chris, but I've experienced uneasy feeling just watching it during that situation.
I've been in some Airbnbs and I'll not forget the one that I did in Denver. The pictures looked great. It was an art studio. It was supposed to be clean. You go in there, we get there, the guy's living there.
Wow.
And he's watching us. He's got old food in the fridge. There's dishes in the sink. And he's like, I won't be in your way. I have never felt more creeped out in my life. We locked the room door because he was still outside. And I overheard him talking that he was 6 months late on his payments for the place and was hoping to sell a canvas to somebody. So this was actually his way of getting people in to see his artwork, which was bizarre.
Wow.
And who's gonna show up to an Airbnb and go, oh yeah, I want to buy that artwork for $55,000? Yeah. No, nobody. But I mean, we're talking Jeffrey Dahmer vibes. The dude was crazy. Like we were packed and ready to go at 6 a.m. He's like, "Oh, you can stay for." We're like, "Yeah, we got some other things to do." Bye, And that totally watch this movie. The fact that we're entering in where two people don't know each other and they're trying to cohabitate and yeah, it's just complete creep factor.
Totally. And I've been in a similar situation myself, and just not knowing there's going to be other people there and how awkward it is, and like, you just can't trust them. And I think that this movie plays on that perfectly, because especially even though I've seen it a couple of times, I still like almost feel like you think the other guy is in on it. Like the
Right.
vibe that he gives off is just too awkward and it's too perfect.
And just ick.
And you're right. I haven't stayed at an Airbnb, but you have, Michael, as you said several times, and I feel like I've lived vicariously through that. I think Chris's story actually sounds like it could make for a decent script.
No, I was going to say the same thing.
And you'd have to embellish a little bit, but probably not much. And to lay that out, it does start out with Tess arriving on a super rainy night. She's at her Airbnb or something like that, whatever they call that company. And then Keith, he's at the Airbnb. He's already inside, and there obviously was double booking, which I'm sure is a common thing that happens.
It does happen. Mm-hmm.
But
and what about the town like that they're in? Because it reminded me kind of like Ravenwood and Half-Life. Nobody goes to Brightmoor anymore. But then again, that's one of the things that really captivated me about this movie, is that place reminded me so much of like many parts of St. Louis that you walk in and they're just shelled out areas. And what a great way to take something that's already existing, already kind of has that what happened here vibe, and turn it into a movie where there's this one house that looks good, and that's where you're staying tonight. Welcome to the Comfort Inn.
Yeah, right. Well, I think it's interesting that you bring that up, because there's a flashback scene that gives you like more of like insight of what really was going on in that house. And I think it's cool how they shot and showed like the progression of like where things were, and people were, trying to get the hell out of there so they could pay their way out, because if they were going to sell a couple months later, who knows what was going to happen.
Because they knew the neighborhood was going to go to hell.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, very interesting. And then I'll just share this because, Michael just knows that I have to share some tidbit. But we're talking about the fact that she arrives there at night and it's raining. So she really doesn't have any idea how bad that neighborhood is until later on. But the majority of the movie, including most of those neighborhood scenes, were shot in Bulgaria.
Yep.
Oh.
And just that house and that specific block were shot in Detroit. I think it's called, there's a name for that city, but it escapes me right now. It's neither here nor there, but it's a small town out of Detroit. Go ahead, Michael.
No, so it's so uneasy, and especially like we just had seen a movie where there was, two girls or two women at a door and they shouldn't walk inside, right? But she's right away gives presence to, she's very strong individual, and she's gauging it and still trying to be smart, but she's probably better off, even though she doesn't know it, being inside that house than she is outside of it. For the time being, that is. So.
Right, yeah. Had they shined a big spotlight, she would have went inside immediately. But you're right. But it is interesting how Keith, the way Skarsgård plays that, you're sure he is up to no good for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
I know about he keeps offering tea. I get it, you're awkward, right? You don't know what to do, right? But he just keeps on going on about it, and then pushes on the wine. Like, you don't know, like that makes it even worse, I think, right?
Yeah, the wine was bad, because at that point you're like, you probably got something else you're thinking about.
Right, yeah, totally.
And he's, so she says she's got a thing about clean linens.
Yeah.
They get the linens that he's been sleeping on in the washer and dryer. And when she comes out, I think out of the bathroom, he's sitting at the table with that eating grin on his face with 2 wine glasses and a bottle of wine.
Right.
It's creepy all the way around.
And I think he's really good because a little background on him, he played, Pennywise, a huge, phenomenon that's gone on for a while now, clowns that is. But I mean, the way he can like gesture his face and smile, it always creeps me out, even still, him not playing that character. So he's definitely good with the faces he makes. So, but as the story goes on, they get really comfortable and everything's loose and it seems like, everything's fine. She goes to bed after the sheets are dried, and so she wakes up in the one night and her door's open. So we're like, oh,
she had locked it, right? Like Chris did.
No,
right.
She didn't lock it the first time, right? She was comfortable.
Okay. My bad.
And then she woke up in the middle of the night because she heard something, and he's having like a seizure or like a panic attack or his night terror, like a dog. Yeah, that's what it seemed like. But she's touching him, waking him up, and then he freaks out. He's like, "What the hell is going on?"
Why are you touching me? Ew.
Yeah. And then she feels bad.
He's mad at her.
And she's like, it's all turned around, it's perfect. And then she locks in, wakes up, everything's fine, and he's gone. And so she's there. The reason why she's there in the first place is because she's doing an interview. And I think it's so smart because there could be so much dialogue to be had, but I think a lot of times less is more. So when she goes in for the interview and it like cuts away and you're seeing from outside perspective and don't hear what they're saying, I think that's so I don't think enough movies can do that right, and I think that was done well.
That's brilliant.
But
I couldn't agree more. You're right. And that scene even stood out again last night. And there's a few of them, but they give you the setup, but then you don't hear all the dialogue. But because of life experience, you know what they're saying. And there's no reason for you to hear it. I love that. That's a great call out.
So when she's done with the interview, they're talking. We can hear what they're saying finally. And she tells where she's staying. She's all freaked out. The person that, was there with her.
Interviewing her future boss, right?
And, she's telling her to be careful because that place is not a place she should be at whatsoever, right? And so when she goes back, she's already hesitant as it is. And that homeless person comes tweaking out, it just seems like out of nowhere, and chases her down. So she's in a panic, of course.
Oh, he is motoring.
Yeah.
And he's yelling in that scruffy voice. Holy God.
And so you're thinking at first, is this part of what happened to the place? Is this one of those people? Is he a zombie? Your brain starts to go different directions, not knowing what is this element coming at her. Yeah.
Totally, because at this point we don't even know what the movie is really about because nothing has really even happened, right?
And she stumbles through that lockbox to get the key out.
Yeah.
And everybody's been in a situation like that at some point, and then she makes it into the house, right?
Well, it's perfect too. She's in a panic, right? So she doesn't put the key back, right? And anyway, she's rushing to put all of her shit together in a bin and stuff like that, and she finally calms down, and then of course there's no toilet paper.
Right.
She's got to use the restroom.
And
that's socks are for.
Yikes.
Nice. I gotta write that
perfect. One down. So I mean, there's one door she hadn't gone to was the basement, and so she leaves it ajar. You don't even think that anything about it. She finds the toilet paper.
There's a huge thing of toilet paper.
Right. Yeah. So everything's fine. But the door, it's not a fast close or anything. It just casually closes, right? Just like a gust of wind or whatever, and she's locked in. And so I think it's perfect because nothing supernatural about that. I mean, a door could close on its own. That's an old house, that's probably leaned in a certain way where it always just closes, right? So it's great, and I think this is where the movie really starts to shine with the cinematography for sure. It's definitely you're curious just as much as the person is looking and searching through that room, trying to escape, right? So I just think it's great, and she finally stumbles upon a hidden passageway. And of course, the all the generic movies would say, yeah, she's just gonna go right in, right? She immediately says nope, and I thought that was, perfect. And I think
smart, right? Yeah.
I think that's the director and his writing talent, like shining through, like his jokes.
Sure.
But, and then the other, the person that was staying at the house, right? He comes back finally, and she's on a panic, want to be let out because of the room that she had found down there.
Right. Well, that's the key, right? She didn't go down that whole passageway, but she did make her way into that one room.
That one room.
And Chris mentioned Jeffrey Dahmer with the Airbnb stay he had.
Yes, very much so.
This had that vibe, right? The filthy mattress, the bucket, the tripod for a camera. I mean, it almost looked like something out of Hostel.
Well, yes, and the camera, I kept thinking, I'm like, that's like one of those old style 80s cameras that like the video recorder where it's like this honking boombox thing that they had on this tripod. I'm thinking, wow, this movie did a great job dating as it went along, like how long things have been around and how long things have been there, how long that blood might be on that mattress, that kind of thing. Though I did sit there and think there was a moment with the whole trying to get the light down that corridor that she did a good job of with the mirror, setting that mirror up. And I kept thinking back to like the Fifth Element days of I seem light, and she's trying to get this thing positioned. So again, really clever attention to detail was delivered throughout the movie, all the way down to the green stove, like to date the movie and date what this place used to be like, but also bringing it forward to where it is now. I just thought that was very clever and very well done.
And all those details, the avocado green, right?
Yes.
But it's a great call out about those details. And sorry, son, if you want to get back to the fact that Keith comes back and she's locked in the basement, I just thought those details really stood out. Chris elaborated.
And I almost spaced that out about the light in the mirror. I mean, that was such a great scene in itself. So
no, it's those little details, and funny thing is those little details don't cost more to shoot, right?
Right.
No.
That didn't.
But they make a better movie.
Right. Totally. All right. So we'll get back to Keith has returned to the house. He's outside. She's locked in the basement.
Right, and of course she has the key to get in, but they're able to manage to open up that basement window. And she's in. You gotta get out of there. She's screaming about that room, and he's not taking no for an answer. Like, he has to go down there and see for himself, right? Mm-hmm. No matter what.
Right.
And so, he's like, just please, he's begging her just to please stay up here while I'm down there, 30 seconds, just like, it's going to be no time at all, right? And
right.
So, he's down there for a while, and she's getting really antsy, and then she's like hesitating whether she's just going to go or not. But, she's gonna be smart, make sure that door doesn't close up on her, right? And she goes down there, she keeps on saying his name, no answer, and there's no one in that no one in that room, like that looks like an interrogation room. And then she finds out that there's a path further down that goes, it's like a walking path with staircase going down, and it's just pitch black, like, and she hesitates still, but she shouts out his name, and he sounds like help or whatever. It's so hard to make out what he's saying, but he's down there, and she's in her better of hearts, she still goes down there. I don't know if I could bring myself to do that.
Yeah, Keith would be dead.
Yeah.
Well, I think they were just trying to show us that it almost goes back to why she even went in the house in the first place, in that the core of her character is she's a good person.
Right. So I have a question for Chris, though. At this point, did you think that he was still the bad guy, or did you not even think of that? Like, he was leading her down there?
It crossed my mind that he was still a potential bad guy, and that he was trying to get, and maybe that's why he's the one that set this room up with the camera, is that's how he lures his, his victim down to his, dungeon room for light bondage. I don't know, but that whole vibe kept coming across until later. Mm-hmm.
Well, and she goes,
great question.
She continues to go down there, and even then, like, when they finally meet up, like, he's freaking out, right? and it's still, I still think he's the bad guy. I mean, he's like, no, don't go that way. He's adamant about not going that way. And
well,
then
it looks like an abandoned mine.
yeah,
Right.
dog
Underneath
cages.
a house in Detroit. You know, it's like, what the
Yeah.
heck?
Yeah, the dog cage. Like we're gonna have a rave tonight. Yay! It's total creep fest.
So
But-
then, what determines that whether or not he was good or bad?
Oh, geez. I don't know. This, I don't
The
know.
Morlock.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you guys heard the skinwalkers, I mean, like this big mounted of a creature that looks like I don't know, like a baby
Warlock.
mixed with a golem and a mom. I don't know. It's just, that sounds really weird saying that out loud, but yeah, I guess, you know, grabs Keith and just violently smashes his head against the wall.
And grabs him. You know, and he's got to be over 6 feet tall,
Right.
north of 180 pounds, and she grabs him like he's 5 pounds of styrofoam. Like, it's just insane.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so that was the end of him, and then the movie just cuts. It just cuts to
Yeah.
Justin Long. What was his name of the movie?
AJ.
AJ.
Yeah.
Come
It
on, don't
cuts to-
forget AJ, right?
Right. Okay. My bad. It cuts to him singing a song. It's all happy in that.
It's
you
all
know?
bright. It's Southern California.
California. It's literally Malibu
Coast.
Drive. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It couldn't be more opposite what we just witnessed, right?
Right.
And I have to admit that that really punched me in the face positively, especially last night. That cut, that transition like that, where it's such a juxtaposition. Again, another one of those simple things that didn't add a lot to the budget, but man, it is a beautiful transition.
Right.
The thing is that we're not standing too long in the happy moment, because he's immediately getting a phone call and his world's about to just become upside down.
Yeah, and can
Yeah.
we at least say, I'm going to at least, Justin Long is my favorite subtle character in any of the horror movies he's been in. He's perfect. And I
Oh,
just
totally.
wonder if he's even like that in real life. And so he's driving that, I believe that is a convertible Fiat Pininfarina.
Mhm.
And he's down the coastline and he's jamming to that song and singing to it, which adds to the bliss that he's in even more, right?
Right.
And then, like you said, he's getting a call now from, we're assuming, his representation.
Right.
Right.
And I'm very against cancel culture as a whole. You know, obviously there's a time to speak up, but I think this was right. I think it was perfect time when this movie released, like all the horrible things that was happening to a lot of actors at that time. But
Mhm.
I still think it's very relevant now. But you know, he was accused of some horrendous things about a coworker he was on a show with, and you know, as the story progresses, you find out more and more like what that actually was, you know. And I think it works perfectly because he's in a panic now, and his whole life is about to, you know, be upside down. He doesn't have any idea how he's going to pay for any of his legal fees, right?
Well, even his accountant's like, here, you can't afford me anymore. Here's your stuff.
Right.
Like,
And
Yeah, right. So then what's he doing? He's got to scramble for money, so he's
Right.
going to head to Detroit for his properties, right?
well, I was going to say, how's
Right.
it connected? Well, he owns those rental properties, right? He's all adamant that there's going to be money to be made in those.
he has no clue about the properties, which is true to form about so many properties that I've seen that are owned by people that don't live in the state. you
Right.
know?
And so, of course, it doesn't look good that he's flying out of the state, right, to
Yeah.
go to those properties. But I'm not going to be in trouble like that. Like, they're not going to arrest me. And like, but he
Yeah, because
doesn't know the reality.
Because the female character in that pilot was accusing him of rape. Like, it was
Right.
very serious. Yeah. So he makes his way to Detroit.
Right. And so there's the small interactions when he gets to that place that is dealing with his Airbnbs, right? Like, it's just perfect small talk, and then being, you know, showing up to that place and being really confused because it seems like someone's been living there.
Yeah.
And he calls the place that is managing his rental properties, and the conversation and Justin Long's quip and like shortness is just, I think, is just perfect.
Yep.
And so he investigates going downstairs, and this is my favorite scene of the whole movie, is the fact that he doesn't care about what's in that room that he finds, right, with that mattress and all that, but
he just gets some measuring tape out.
he immediately goes upstairs and sees a rental or selling a property at square footage, that is unfinished or whatever, for basements. Does that add value? And he sees sometime, right, and he's just okay, gonna go measure it. And he just keeps going on with that tape measure. I thought it was just gonna be a small gag. It was just gonna last for just a little bit. He's
measuring the stairs.
He's walking down, and it's darkness. He doesn't even know what's behind him. He doesn't even care. He's just nonchalant, keep going back. Oh man, that was just a perfect gag, but it worked because there needs to be some levity, right? I think in dark movies, and that was perfectly put there. And we'll go back to that video you were talking about that was going on in that room of how to maybe best breastfeed someone. So yeah, that was
Chris.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're gonna run out of time here shortly, so we're gonna have to wrap up the majority of the movie here shortly. So, but I just to summarize it real quick, is just he meets up with the surviving woman, right?
Tess. Yep.
Tess.
Mm-hmm.
And she's obviously been there. We don't know how long it's been, but she knows the rules of what to do and
With that creature,
and she wants them to be like their children, like the babies for her, right? And she's so gross in that scene with the bottle.
Yeah.
It's like you could see there's like hair or something like
yeah.
Oh man, it's just
but it makes your skin really clean and smooth and soft.
Yeah. But she takes him out of there, and so she's able to escape, and she's able to like really escape while he's just being, for him, just being tortured.
Oh man,
right.
Yeah, just terrible.
Yeah.
And she's got the home stretch just to leave, and she goes running away to the gas station, right? And she wants the police to be called, and the police, I from everything I experienced, I don't think this is far-fetched at all, that they don't even care, right? Like they don't even want to be. They have way more important things. She looks like she's been doing drugs, like every sign's leading to a red flag that she's not someone that they should really help.
Right. And they have better things to do. They have other things to do. Yeah.
Yeah, like hit the donut shop.
Yeah, that's right. But she doesn't find help there. Like you're thinking, oh, she's still gonna get the help from them. Nope. And she's lucky that she didn't get in trouble for breaking that window, right?
Right.
And so this whole time, Justin Long has been able to run away, and he thinks he found another way out or something, and he runs into that old guy that's in there. And it just I think it's awesome with the back and forth where they flipped and showed who that character was.
Mm-hmm.
The cinematography and showing that whole area like it was when it was new-ish, right?
Again, really good details that just were very well laid out with a small coverage. So it wasn't like this long story. It was just simple.
Just enough.
Kept that pace up, showed how he was going to get his way into the house and get a woman to take her back and get prepared to have a baby. And that, I mean, it's just unbelievable how the pace, it could have really got bogged down, but it just like we're trying to wrap up quick ourselves, it really blew through that, but in a very detailed way.
Right. So what turns out what that monster is it's, he was taking those women, having children with those women, and then those babies, he was having, babies with babies, basically, or just go with that.
So it's like X-Files Home, which was never shown on, television because it's nasty.
Yeah.
But you can still watch it. It's out there.
Right.
All
right. Well, that is why that, creature looks the way it does, and it's been in that same place for 40 years, right? So, but she runs back in there to save him,
Yeah, to save
still.
AJ.
Yeah.
And so he goes running with a gun because the poor man that was that monster shot himself, right? So he runs out with that gun, Justin Long does, running through those tunnels in the dark, can't see that far away because he just has his phone flashlight.
Old dude style.
Yeah, and he shoots her, right, Tez?
Shoots
Right.
Tess accidentally. Yep.
Yeah, the wrong person.
Right, and so, man, it's perfect. But you know, it seems like everything's gonna be okay. They're gonna be leaving, and they need to go to that water tower where the homeless person that we didn't get to mention, or I didn't get to.
Well, he
And-
turns out to be a good guy that's lived there all those years, right?
Mhm.
Right. And it's so awesome. I knew the first time watching it too, as he's saying, you guys gotta stay here. She's never been here. She won't come in here. And as soon
Yeah,
as
she
he
can't
like,
get inside.
as soon as he wraps up saying that, she busts through the brick and mortar like it's nothing.
Yep.
And just rips him apart.
Yep. Rips his arm off, and then beats him with it. And then so there's nowhere to escape. It's all barbed wire around, right? They're all worried. She has a gunshot wound, so she can't run that far. And so they run up to the water tower, and what's perfect is Justin Long is like, I want to do all the right things, right? But
Maybe I am a bad person, he says.
Yeah.
And
That's the
so-
moment he has that clarity.
Right. And so to get away, he's like, you know, you can't run, but I can. So he pushes her
That
down
pushes Tess off the water tower.
off the water tower, and it's awesome. I didn't expect her, the creature, to jump after her and save her life.
Right.
I didn't see that coming, and
Yeah,
He
'cause
runs-
the creature jumps and she wants to save Tess, and she ends up breaking Tess's fall.
yeah.
Yep.
And so for Justin, he runs down there and sees that she's finally alive, right?
Right.
And he just convincing her, like, no, you saw I had to do that. You were falling, you were slipping. I was trying to hold on to you. Like, even still then, you know, still trying to be saying that he's a good guy, but he's not.
Right.
And so, but the creature, of course, is not dead and just kills Justin Long finally. After
Deservedly so.
I
Deservedly
was
so.
gonna say, of anyone in that movie, I think pretty sure he deserved it. So, but it's sad. It seems like the creature wants to bring her home, but she can't because she's in so much pain and she's got that gun, and she can't really talk, but she says goodbye, and she just, you know, it seems like she can't shoot her, but she does.
Right.
I think it was great that we could get together. Sorry about having to rush a little bit at the end there, but
Well, and go ahead, son.
no, I was just saying that I think this is great, and I definitely look forward to doing more things like that in the future, especially hopefully you want to do this again, and maybe you pick the film that we will review, and I don't have to say it has to be horror either.
And he did say horror. But I thought we could still button up the film, because something that you had said to me a few podcasts ago, Michael, was, okay, so after you kind of run through the movie, so we saw the movie, we ran through it. Chris, does your position change at all as far as your score goes after, you know, we've done a little bit of a deeper dive?
I think if I scored, yeah, I definitely would change my score. Like I said, again, I would definitely see this movie again. So I'm going to rank it a little bit higher in a 7.5. Yeah.
You think you'll go 8?
It's a solid. I don't know if I can go 8. I can go 7.
Okay, 7.5.
8 and 9 and 10. Those are reserved for, like, you know, I mean, it's better than sex kind of like thing. I mean, I can't do that. You know. So yeah.
For reference, do you have a 9 or a 10 movie so I can gauge that off of that?
A 9 or 10 movie. Gosh.
You better not say Sushi Girl.
That was not a 10. No. Yeah. I mean, it really depends on the genre. I mean,
Come on, just spit one out. What the heck?
Yeah.
I mean, I really enjoyed Garden State. Like, I mean, that was a good flick.
Dak Brack.
If we want to go into fantasy stuff, I'm like Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, if we want to go into horror films,
Yeah.
Give us a horror one.
See, and again, this is my kind of horror too.
Right.
Is something I really enjoy. Any like Aliens, that kind of a genre for the horror, or Hostel. There is a certain appeal to Hostel. I'm sorry.
No, there is. No.
Yeah,
yeah.
and
it's so well done.
Right.
For that kind of movie. That's the thing. Well, and I'm gonna we can turn it back over to Michael, but I'm gonna say I'm gonna have to actually give this a 7 3/4. Like that's where I'm landing. It just, for me, I know we covered the ending, and I like the fact that Justin Long's character had that epiphany. Am I really a bad person? And then he shows us, yes, I am, as he throws Tess off of that, and then he gets his Justin desserts, would you say, at the end of the film? But it was rightfully so. I wanted a little bit more at the end, but that's me. I just think a lot of movies, for me, fall short at the end. Son, would you change your rating?
No, I think I'm going to stick with it. I did have the higher score of all of us, so.
Okay, I didn't know that we were taking numbers that way.
No, it just seems like that you guys saw that I did a pretty good job of my score, and you wanted to raise yours, so.
That's it. We were just copying.
You're right. No.
Yeah.
No, not at all. I thought about it. Like, I gave it a score when I first saw it, and I kind of stuck with it now. So,
yeah. And to piggyback off of that, because we are talking about scores, and I know Michael wants me to shut up, but Rotten Tomatoes, we do usually reference that every time, and I got scolded for making the audience aware of the quantity, or not bringing the quantity to play. So on Rotten Tomatoes, it comes in at 93%.
wow.
And that's with 207 reviews.
That is crazy.
Yeah, and if you haven't heard, there's also a video game adaptation that's taking place by a company called Diversion 3 Entertainment.
Yeah.
But there was no timetable on when that would be done.
So, like, based on this movie?
Yeah, based on Barbarian. Yep.
Or you think that maybe they're got some things mixed up and they're going to make a Barbarian game?
It might have been. Hey, I only can report what I read, and everything hasn't been verified, so I do the best I can.
Well,
fair enough.
Any other final thoughts you've got?
Well, I was gonna say,
Michael.
Yeah, I was gonna say whatever final thoughts we think.
What do you got, Chris?
I again was impressed on how low budget and how well it was put together. Was not expecting that. In fact, I think I even made the comment when you first suggested it. I'm like, this is going to be a campy movie, and it started out kind of that way. But then again, that whole just going into an Airbnb, I think Mikhail, you're right when you say if you've experienced something like that, it definitely makes it a little more real for you. As far as being able to feel exactly what that character is feeling. And they did a good job with the cast and putting that together. So absolutely.
For sure.
Solid flick. I'd watch it again.
Yeah, and I echo those sentiments as far as, watching it again, even though I probably have started to get close to my limit. But it is a really good movie, a lot of good moving parts, and something you mentioned really jumped out to me. The music kind of fell flat. And it had its points, but it's amazing how, let's even think of John Carpenter's The Thing, right? If that music didn't blow you away, that movie is nowhere near as strong. So it's interesting how that maybe could have taken this movie to another level.
Right.
Agreed. So maybe that's something that he fixes for his next movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
I believe it's called Weapons, his next one. It's going to be a psychological horror thriller he wants to do.
Cool.
I like those.
2026. So
wow.
I'm expecting it anytime soon.
We've got a little bit of a wait for Zach Krager. Maybe I'll drop him a line and see if he needs any help with the music.
Oh yeah. I guess one of the main people attached to that film as of right now is Josh Brolin. So.
Oh, cool.
I don't have a lot of actors that I say, wow. I mean, Justin Long is, I can't put him in that league of acting that we like so much, like Robert Pattinson or Willem Dafoe or Christian Bale, but Justin Long, he's got that niche. And for me, Josh Brolin's that same way, except a bigger star, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Much.
And it's funny, like
yeah.
Chris, you probably remember seeing his dad in things, right?
Yeah.
and he can act the pants off his dad. Like his dad was not half the actor that Josh is.
So he's got huge range.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, that's interesting. See him attached, and we'll share real quick and see what Chris's thought is. Instead of Justin Long, initially it was going to be Zac Efron in Justin Long's role. So I'm
Okay,
glad that didn't
I
work
like
out.
Zach. I don't mind Zach. He can do unbelievable characters at times. And I think that's because he's so stereotypical casted at this point that it sometimes, depending on the role or what he's getting for a script, it's just not a believable character. It's too fake. It's almost Barbie-ish. Yeah. So yeah, but then
he wouldn't have worked. He wouldn't have worked.
No. It wouldn't have worked. No, because again, it just, especially when he started to fall flat on his job and his career and everything falling apart. You just don't think about that with Zach because he's again just overcast on so many things. Yeah.
Right. Totally.
All right. So any other final thoughts before you send us on our way, Michael?
No, I think this is definitely for all the audience out there a must watch if you guys haven't seen it for yourself, and it's definitely a movie I'm going to return to pretty much every year or every other year. And
cool, it'll be one of those, right? Yeah.
And I think it's great when a movie poster, there's a scene exactly from the movie that you're like, oh, yep, that's where the movie poster is. And I love that when she's opening the door for the first time, she's looking down and that pauses. Like that's exactly the movie poster, which is cool. So
that's a cool shot of when they get a still from the movie. So well, I really enjoyed having Chris with us today.
Yes, for sure.
It's super fun, guys.
Really good to see you. You brought good energy, and we didn't have to prop you up, fluff you up, or send you a bunch of pre-notes. Your energy and your personality carried the way. So we definitely appreciate you taking the time to spend with us.
Glad being here. Super fun. Thanks for having me as an invite. Appreciate it.
For sure. Thank you. And well, I guess I'll do the send off. Everyone, please stay psycho, please.
Yes, absolutely. Stay safe, stay psycho. And we might not have said it at the beginning, and Michael might edit it in, but don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yes.
Always.
Appreciate it.
Shout
Bye,
out.
guys.
Take care.
See you. Bye.
Bye.